one side of the divide, people say a national dialogue is just what the nation needs as it approaches the 100th year of amalgamation to discuss differences and find ways for peaceful coexistence. On the other divide, the national confab has been described as just another means of hoodwinking the people into believing the government is ready to turn the nation's story around. Others sitting on the fence say the idea is good, but the timing is wrong, and the president's motive is not really clear as the 2015 general election approaches. Politicians, lawyers, public affairs analysts have been making their contributions, but it is time to pass the mic to the ordinary Nigerian, particularly the youths. Before now, we've had other conferences that made recommendations that were not put into use. Could this be the solution Nigeria needs to achieve its potentials, or is this just another fruitless effort in the making? To look at this on the program is a youth leader, Ife Adebayo. But before we catch up with our guests, let's take a look at the online trending topics for the past week. Ife, thanks for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Just before we begin, let's look at this.
In demonstration of my avowed belief in the positive power of dialogue in charting the way forward, we have decided to set up an advisory committee whose mandate is to establish the modalities for a national dialogue or conference. The committee will also design a framework and come up with recommendations as to the form, structure, and mechanism of the process. The committee will be chaired by Dr. Femi Okurumo, while Dr. Akilo Indabawa will serve as the secretary. The full membership of the committee will be announced shortly. I expect the report to be ready in 1 month, following which the nation will be briefed on the nomenclature, structure, and modalities of the dialogue.
That was the President's address on Independence Day. The committee has already started its work. What do you think about that?
I think it's great, and I think it's coming late, but it's better late than never. Because if you look at the current setup, the current Nigerian setup, you'll see that we have ethno-religious problems, we have economic problems, we have social problems, and all these problems can be traced back to the fact that we have actually never been working with a constitution. We have never been working with a constitution that was actually set up by the people of Nigeria. We are working currently with a constitution set up by the military, and I think this committee that has been set up by the president is actually it's a good one, and I hope they do the right thing and give the president the right advice.
All right, but people have their reservations.
Well, many of those who have the reservations are people who currently have vested interests in the current setup that we have. And these are people who are enjoying a lot from the fractured system that we currently have. And I can tell you that the common man on the streets will actually be in support of this, because this is actually about them. They are the ones who actually feel the pain, the brunt of the current system.
We had something similar some years ago under one of the past administrations.
We've had numerous of them. I mean, we've had one set up by former President Babangida in 1994. We had one set up by President Olusegun Obasanjo. But if you look at the trend, coming from, in fact, from the 1950s, there was one in 1953, there was one in 1957. So if you look at history, you will see that we've had conferences that have been set up by the people in power, picking the delegates themselves. We need to have a proper conference, a conference where Nigerians get to elect the delegates that will represent them at this conference.
How do Nigerians elect this delegate?
So we can do it according to local governments. So we have 774 local governments currently in Nigeria. So we should have a representative from each local government, and then we should have representatives from civil society organizations. We should have representatives as observers from the UN and other agencies, other international agencies. We shall have market women representations. We shall have representation from the disabled organizations. So we shall have all these people coming as unelected delegates. But elected delegates should be from each local government. In that way, we'll be covering every ethnic region of the country, because we have about close to 400 different ethnicities in this country.
Yeah, thereabout.
Yeah.
All right, but then, I mean, they're also saying that the recommendations that will be made will be sent to the National Assembly for ratification. Do you agree with that?
In my opinion, I think we cannot throw away what we have. We have to use what we have to get what we want. So if you ask me, in my opinion, I think what we should be working towards is the committee should be working towards getting elected people into this conference and getting the National Assembly to pass a resolution that will enforce whatever has been decided. So whatever has been decided at that conference should be enforced by the next due election. So if the next due election is 2015, if the next due election is 2019, it should be enforced by that election. So for example, if we are looking at 2019, we can say, okay, after 2019, there should be a dissolution of the current system after the people must have voted via referendum on whether or not to accept the agreements at the Constitutional Review Conference, at the National Dialogue Conference. So after 2019, we can now dissolve what we have currently and start afresh as a nation, because currently what we have is not working for us. It's not working.
Why are you saying so?
It's not working in every area. It's not working if you look at it economically, if you look at it religiously, if you look at it ethnically. Everybody comes up with marginalization stories. Everybody says, "Oh, I don't have a say." You look at the ethnic minorities in places like Borno State, the Christian minorities. They have a lot of complaints. If you come down south, you hear some people say, "Oh, we the Ijebu people, we are not getting this. We the Eko people, we are not getting this." This is because we never really sat down to talk about how we want to live together, how we intend to live together as a people.
All right, quickly in wrapping up this interview, they have a time frame. Do you think it's enough for them to do what they were asked to do by the president? I
do not think it is enough, because the president has given them 6 weeks, which I think is really too small for them to actually be able to go around and have a feeler of what the people actually want, of how the people actually want this to actually progress. So I think they actually need more time. In my opinion, I think at least 6 months is needed for them to be able to carry on this job effectively.
All right, we have to wrap this up right now. Thanks for coming on the program, and
thank you for having me.
Thoughts
thank you
with us on the program. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we're moving live to our online studio, where we have so many contributors waiting to share their thoughts on this topic we've been discussing. Join us right after this.
Don't be left in the dark. Be the first to know. Get the latest news and developing stories anytime, anywhere, on your mobile device. Log on to m.channelstv.com and click on the Channels TV logo. Channels Television, the news at your fingertips.
Thank you very much for having me on this wonderful program. Personally, I think it's a way forward. I think there's good intention, and I think if it is done properly, it can achieve a lot of success. But the underlying issue is that if it is done properly. I think, for me personally, I think getting it right, first of all, starts with the foundational issues, like the consultations going on at the moment. Okay. I personally am not 100% convinced yet that all the entirety of Nigerians are involved at the moment. So if you don't have a very large spectrum of people, then I do not see. So for me, I think getting people on board properly at this early stage is very important. It should not be an issue of political parties or whatever. So even if the party in a state is not the same as the ruling party in Abuja, I think that should not affect everybody coming on board. And I think the sensitization is not too good. For example, you find out that a lot of key stakeholders are not even aware, in all the states in the geopolitical region. And for me, that is an issue. I think more time should be spent gathering information from people at this level before taking it to the actual dialogue, so that we can know really what people have to say. In Akure, we had just about over 20 presentations. And you can imagine 20 presentations from the Southwest that has a population of almost 30 million people. So is it really representative? So for me, that's what I mean by the preparation. We need to improve that if we want it to succeed.